Welcome to another edition of the SprintCarUnlimited.com Deep Dive presented by Dottie's Family Market in Dover, PA. Joining us on the show today is Sprint Car Hall of Fame driver Joey Saldana. Before we get to Joey, Dottie's Family Market in Dover, PA is your one-stop shop on the way to the races. They have fresh-made sandwiches and subs with all the fixins, perfect for a night at the racetrack. Dottie's has everything you need in one location, including a full-service deli, wide selection of groceries, and gas. If you're looking to sit down, head over to the Hive Coffee House and Cafe for a great sandwich. There's also a seasonal greenhouse on site, and coming soon is Dottie's Crab House, where you can dine in for fresh seafood and all-you-can-eat Maryland crabs. Head over to the corner of Canal and Bull Road in Dover, PA. Dottie's Family Market has you covered. Now here's Joey. Joey, welcome to the Deep Dive. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I don't do this very much anymore. So when you text me the other day, I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I don't get to do it much. So interesting on both sides. Just get my point of view and what your guys' point of view is. I mean, I'm still in the loop somewhat. We were talking through my oil tanks, but I'm really so far away from racing today that it's kind of weird, but I enjoy it.
Yeah, I can't say that. I'm preparing to go to the Knoxville Nationals, and I wanted to start there before I get into your career and some of the things that you've accomplished. What was it like as a driver in your prime when you were getting ready to go to the Knoxville Nationals? What was this week like for you?
Um, well, I mean, like we were talking earlier, I had my own team in 2000 and 2002 and 2003. So for us, it was your owning your own team and not having a huge budget. The Knoxville Nationals really was your make or break financially because I know it pays a lot now, but it paid a lot back then. I mean, it's kind of I don't know. We hear about how great the pay is now, but I think back in the early days, the pay was probably correlates to about the same. So as owning my own team, I felt like that this was, a make or break for us. We needed to go there, make the show, have a decent run, and that could really set you up for the rest of the season. And luckily, I was able to make the Nationals 19 times, and I feel like I'm the Michael Andretti of the Knoxville Nationals. I ran second 3 times to Donnie Schatz and third once to Danny Lasowski. So, I mean, I felt like I had my opportunities to really capitalize and have my name etched on the wall there with my dad, but I just didn't get it done. We were close, had everything playing in our favor some years, and we just didn't get it done. But we definitely had good runs, and it definitely was a make and break for our season. And I think you see that today. I mean, guys can go there and make their season just by this one weekend.
Yeah, and obviously other weekends, which we'll talk about the money in sprint car racing now later on. But when you were growing up as a kid with your dad Joe, was it obvious that you were going to become a race car driver? I mean, to follow in his footsteps, was that always kind of apparent?
No, not at all. I mean, looking back now, yes, because the way it played out for me, but even with like racing with my son and seeing the transition he's gone through and how he had to deal with it, I see for myself how I felt. Like, my dad was a Knoxville Nationals champion and went on to be successful in USAC ranks and run the Indy 500. And, just having all that in your head, playing in your head mentally is really tough to separate that and just be yourself and go and be competitive. And I struggled with that a lot growing up, trying to, fill the shoes of my dad and be successful at it. And luckily it paid off for me. But then when I look back and I watch my son trying to race and go through it, I can see, how tough it is for him mentally, just because you're the son of whoever, you're supposed to be good. I looking back to my career, like Craig Kinzer. I mean, just the weight he had to carry being the son of Steve Kinzer. My dad was not Steve Kinzer, and it was tough for me. So I can only imagine what Craig went through mentally. And it's just because everybody expects you to be as good as your dad. So no, my dad never pushed racing. It was never something he really wanted me to do. It was something I had to do on my own if I wanted to be a professional at it. I mean, yeah, he opened the door and got me going, but when it came down to it, to make it as a career and be successful, you have to do it on your own. So it worked out for me, and everything I have today is from racing. So yeah, I mean, I can't thank my dad for doing what he did for me, which is just being who he was and being established to where it helped me, just get people to look at me as a driver. But and it's also it's a double edged sword. I mean, yeah, it opens the door, but you better be successful. And like I said, luckily it just worked out for me.
I heard a story that like he would get you going for 4 years since you weren't going to school, and then after that, you were on your own.
Pretty much. I mean, it ended up being about 5 years total. But yeah, my dad, he when we wanted to do it, or when I wanted to do it more, he was like, dude, you got to go work for Lee Osborne. You got to go work for Donnie Ray Everett. You got to learn the ins and out of the race car and the engine. And I was lucky enough to do that. Looking back now, is the way my dad raised me was the way, I mean, I couldn't have changed it for the world. I mean, it was so neat to be able to work with guys like Lee Osborne and Donnie Ray Everett, and just at the time you don't realize you're actually working with some really impressive Hall of Famers that really shouldn't even give me the time of day of a 15, 16-year old. And luckily I was able to work with them guys, and still friends with Lee Osborne today. He actually built a couple hot rods for me. Um, and just, I don't know, just that environment, I was very blessed. And that's some of the doors that were open. If it wasn't for my dad, Lee Osborne wouldn't have let me come in his shop and be a part of his program. So them are the things that my dad did for me that people don't realize, that just who he was as a person and through his racing allowed me to, get in with guys like that, which I think expedites your career, makes it faster, because you're learning from guys that have been through it and know, how to be successful. So that was how it all started for me. And my dad was like, if you don't want to go to college, then I'm not going to fund your racing. So we'll do it for. It ended up being 5 years total, but yeah, once that 5 years was up, man, it was like, see you later, go get a ride. And luckily, Tim Hughes
Yep.
in '94 gave me a ride, and then it was just, I was just fortunate. I got rides ever since, and had a really good career. I feel like I retired really early, looking at guys that are doing it now. But
Yeah.
for me, honestly, I went through quite a few injuries that, a year ago, well, 10 months ago, I had to get my hip replaced because I broke it at Eldora in 2011. And here you think you retire from racing and you're doing everything right to keep yourself healthy. And then that ugly head of injuries pops back up. You think, well, man, I did this in 2011 and now I'm paying the price for it now. And I just think a lot of drivers, like the injuries we had in the last couple of weeks, you got to pay attention to your body. And one of the things that I feel like is my body just didn't want to keep going through that. And I didn't want to keep going through that. So, but yeah, I mean, you just take the good with the bad. And, I had a lot of good, but I had a lot of bad. And you just learn from it and move on. But yeah, racing was good to me. My dad was good to me. He gave me an opportunity, and that led to a pretty decent career, I feel.
Yeah, I think an underrated career. And
Thank you.
no, I look at, let's say the last 45, 50 years, if you're talking about the best drivers in sprint car racing, I think you're right there flirting with the top 10, which there's a
Well,
lot of drivers who've come around. So you got in a sprint car in the late 80s, you hooked up with Tim Hughes, were winning races. What was the biggest thing you learned early on that, I don't know if it say forged your driving style, or that you were able to have some success pretty early in your career? What was something, who was instrumental in that, and how did you just pick it up so fast?
I wouldn't say I picked it up fast. I mean, I think back in the old days, I mean, I think like say, for instance, a Darren Pittman, Shane Stewart, myself. Um, I don't know about Darren. I don't know if them guys started early or how they did it. But I mean, for me, I never ran a quarter midget or a micro or any of that. I went straight to a sprint car.
Mm-hmm.
I started late compared to what kids do today. I felt like it took a while to be successful. You watch the Corey Days and that, and it's like they jump in and they're just good at it. But they've also been racing since they were 5 years old, and it's just repetition, the race. Just, I think it all translates through all forms of racing. I mean, yeah, you're in a sprint car, you're going faster and this and that, but I think they just understand the racing process.
Mm-hmm.
Where like when you start at 16, 17 years old, you're learning something that kids are learning at 5 or 6. But like I said, I wouldn't have changed any of it. Like I feel like it worked out for me in the long run. But I don't know. I mean, I think it goes back to, like I said earlier, being with Lee Osborne and guys like that. I mean, it just helps you go through that learning curve so much faster because they give you good race cars. They give you knowledge that they've learned through the years on how to set the car up. So I think maybe what helped me more than anything was just learning the race car and the feel and trying to translate that and getting the car better for me. I think a lot of guys today, they just drive them. They don't really know the car per se, where I think, being with Lee and Donnie Ray Everett, I got to learn the motors and the cars, which I think helps you. I think it's once you get to be a professional, like say working on an outlaw level, that's one thing I had to learn. Like when I went to KKR and other teams, they really just want drivers. They don't want crew chief drivers. But I think to get to that point, learning my car and understanding my car and what I wanted, I think kind of helped me get to that level and winning races. And then that was hard for me to learn that transition when I went to drive for other guys. Was they don't really want to know what you think about the race car. They want to just give you the race car and you drive it. Um, and then sometimes you have crew chiefs that are just amazing and can do everything that you're asking for, and it just kind of works, hand to hand. They see what you need and they understand it, and it just works. I've been lucky enough to be with some really good crew chiefs that do that for you, and that's a transition. Like I said, you just got to learn that, and sometimes you could probably lose rides because you have too much input, and then you can also lose rides because you don't have enough input. So yeah, I just feel like the guys that I got to work with growing up at a young age is what kind of got me going and learning the race car and how to be fast, and the W's always help. I mean, winning races is what it's about. For me, the transition, driving for Art went in 95, I believe, is that year right there. I think we won like 19 all-star races, won my first outlaw race. That pretty much set the road for me to get to the outlaw level. But then it was a struggle to get there and stay there. So just, I don't know. I just look back through my career and I wouldn't change it, but it was definitely not an easy task, but it worked out.
Before we get to the Went car, you tried some pavement racing early in the '90s. What sent you that direction? Was it kind of the path of your father a little bit, and maybe you wanted to try and get to Indy and have a pavement career, or was it just wanted just to dabble in something different?
No, I mean, obviously being from Indiana, wing racing isn't prominent. It was more so then, but not like it is. Now it's all USAC, non-wing, this and that. And back then, I mean, there was wing racing, but it wasn't prominent like your Ohio's or Pennsylvania or California. So for me, that was kind of still when they had the Thursday Night Thunder and the Jeff Gordon and Tony Stewart, and it was just it's just what you did. If you're from Indiana, you ran pavement. You just tried to figure it out. We did it, but as a family-owned team, just financially, it was so expensive. And then towards the end of my dad's career, a lot of people don't know it, but my dad drove for Rufus Gray, which the Gapco Special, they ran a lot of All Stars and wing race stuff. And I think my dad just could see the wing racing starting to be more prevalent in the payouts, and you actually could make a living and make money doing it. And I think my dad was just like, if you really want to be a race car driver, and bring your helmet and just drive and be a professional. I think you need to look into the wing racing more so than the pavement. So my dad really gave me that thought process, because like I said, at the time, the early 90s, everybody wanted to be Jeff Gordon or Tony Stewart as myself. I want to go run Indy, pavement, stock car, whatever. And then my dad just opened my eyes to, you need to be more broad on what you want to do. Is this what, if you want to be a professional, I think this is the direction you need to go. And man, that was probably some of the best information my dad ever gave me was look at what everybody else is doing, look at the money, and I think you can make a career of it. And I mean, thank God I listened to him, and we parked the pavement car and got a wing on top of us, and it just took off from there.
You got in the Went car and you won 18 All-Star races, still the biggest year in the history of that series. As far as wins, like you said, World of Outlaws win. Was that when you thought to yourself, did it click the first time that, hey, I can be one of the best guys in this division?
No, I mean, honestly, I think I was so young then that I didn't really realize what I was doing. I knew I was being successful and winning races, but I was driving over my head, doing stupid stuff. Like, honestly, I know we won a lot of races. I think we won like 22, 23 total races that year, but honestly, I could have won probably 40 if I had any brains in my head at the time. I was just young and dumb. And I remember I was like quick time one night at Lima, and they throw the green flag, and I drive straight up to like second, and I take Kenny Jacobs out and myself. And I remember Kenny wasn't like he was mad at me, but he came down to me, and this was a discussion that I got with a driver that I respect and need to pay attention to what he has to say because it means something. And he said, you're fast. You don't need to drive like an idiot. It's the first lap. You need to finish the race. You probably finish the race, you're going to win. So look, you take me out, you take you out, and you got nothing to show for it. He was exactly right. And I at the time, I didn't realize it, but you learn it through years of racing. But I could have probably won a lot more if I just had any sense about what I was doing. But really, for me, winning in 2002, like the King's Royal, that's when I really knew that, man, I can race with Steve Kinzer. I can do this. And this is what I want to do. And really from the early 2000s, I mean, I think I ended up running 16, 17 years consecutively with them. And that's kind of where I knew that, hey, I can do this and this is what I want to do.
You first World of Outlaws season, I believe it was 96 with Roth. And I think you won Rookie of the Year. And what was that experience like? We hear it now and we see all these rookies. You have 2 national series now. You went out there against Steve Kinzer, Sammy Swindell, Mark Kinzer.
Mark Kinzer, yeah. Jack Hodenshield.
Dave Blaney.
Yeah, Dave Blaney, Bill Blaney, Keith Kaufman.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Jeff Swindell, Andy Hillenberg, Stevie Smith. Like, to me, I hear that and I think, wow, I feel like the competition was crazy back then. I mean, I don't do it now, so I can't really put my 2 cents in what these guys are going through now. But I do feel like a lot of times there's a miscredit to the guys that raced then that has really set the bar where it is now. And I do feel like back then, but obviously I didn't. So I'm always going to say it was harder then.
Yeah.
But I do know back then, we were in vert 6 and vert 4, it wasn't a heads up racing, and you're doing an invert with a Sammy Swindell or a Steve Kinzer or a Jack Hodenshield starting in front of you, because I feel like back in the early days, I qualified really, really well. I remember qualifying 32, 36 quick times, but starting 6th, I'm like, wow, man, if I could have heads up racing like these dudes have now, I think I could have won 20 more races or who knows how many more, but I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to say, I mean, I was very fortunate to win what I won, but I do feel like them guys made me better. And that's the reason why I got to have a career as long as I did with the Outlaws, was because of the competition, and they made me better. Um, but yeah, I feel like the early 2000s, late 90s. I feel like the competition was pretty insane, pretty insane. And honestly, there was a lot of good going on there. You know, we had good TV, we had good sponsors. Like sprint car racing was in a good place then, and then I think it kind of fell off, and then it's back to where it should be now.
You had your own car in the early 2000s, and you win the Kings Royal. You've won races with every team almost every team you've been with. Is it more satisfying when you own it?
Well, it was definitely more satisfying then. I mean, looking back, no, I mean, because you have to win to keep your job, and so that's satisfaction in itself. But when you now that I'm retired and can look back, I mean, definitely them days and knowing how we built everything ourselves. It's just different, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that process of it. Um, it was definitely more gratifying to win in your own car than winning in someone else's car. But at the end of the day, winning any outlaw race is hard, whether it's Kasey Kahne, Dan Motter, Gary Stanton, or our family car. It's hard to accomplish that feat. And but I think you're right. I mean, it definitely is more gratifying when you do the whole thing, and it's under you're in control of the cars, the motors, the rooms, the fuel, the truck and trailer, the whole team. I mean, when you do it all, like say a Brett Marks, I mean, when you can accomplish, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago when he got to sweep Eldora, I
Oh yeah.
guarantee you for him that was very, very gratifying to do. Or like Logan Schuchart winning the million in your own team that you guys have put together. I guarantee you that in itself, when they look back, that will be things that they really, really feel like they accomplished something because you did it all, and it does mean a lot.
2006, you start with KKR, and you're there 7 years. That's an eternity in sprint car racing. What was it like getting that call? I mean, obviously, I don't know if you pursued them or they called you, but to get that call and land that ride, I'm sure you didn't know how long it would last. I mean, in sprint car racing, everything seems to be short term. But what was it like being at KKR, getting the call to run for Kasey Kahne?
Well, I mean, yeah, 7 years is to me for my when you look at my career and the guys back then. I mean, guys would race for a year, two, three, maybe four, and it was just like guys would just move to different rides. It's nice to see guys now seem like they get a little more commitment out of their teams, and they're trying. It's they realize they can't just change all the time. That they need to keep the nucleus together, and and the longer you're together with somebody, the more you're going to accomplish. Um, so for me, that was something I always wanted. I was striving for is to get with a KKR, a TSR, somebody that was established financially that could give you what you needed to be successful every single night. And they did that for me. They definitely put me on the map as as an elite driver. So if it wasn't for KKR, and I mean, we won a lot of races, but I think ultimately at the end, I think my injuries kind of affected me a lot there. And then the two things that have eluded me, like I said, I think we weren't on the air, but I mean, or maybe I was the Knoxville Nationals. I mean, we were
Yeah.
so close so many times and put ourselves in position to win, and we just didn't do it. And, when it comes down to it, I'm the one driving it. It's my fault. Um, Championship, same thing. We put ourselves in position so many times to win a championship, and either I'd get hurt or something would happen, and it just that's ultimately it's the driver's fault. Even if it's not, somebody has to be to blame, and it just like I said, I got 7 years, and 7 years of sprint car racing usually is, I mean, that's unheard of. So it did a lot for me. It definitely opened up the door for me to get 3 years with Motter and then another year with Roth. So KKR definitely helped me get to the position where I had another 4 years in the Outlaws before it was time to move on.
You know, I look at you have 105 World of Outlaws wins, you have 74 All-Star wins. I think you're probably the only guy in sprint car racing who's even a 50-50 guy between those two series as far as wins. But you've had some missed opportunities that maybe weren't your doing. Um, you ran second in the points with the Outlaws in 2007. You ran third in 2006 and 2009. But some of those championship runs were snuffed out by injury. I know there was one year, was it when you won 20? Did you get injured that year?
No, actually, both times Eldora got me. Well, I think in 2009 we won like 20 some races, and I think it was the closest three-way battle: Schatz, Myers, and myself.
Yep.
And they used to have the Outlaws used to have, if you led the most laps, they give you 5 bonus points. And that year they changed it. So it'd have been nice to see what we could have done if they would have left that rule in there. Not that I could have beat Dottie or Myers, but it just, they do things like that and it just changes a lot where you're always like, damn, woulda, shoulda, could have. Been neat to see what '09 could have been. But back on that, I think '07 was our really first legit shot to win the championship. I think in '07, we had Ricky Warner as our crew chief. We were doing it like we were really, really good. It was when Ricky left, went to Cup, and then decided, he didn't want to do that anymore. He wanted to go back sprint car racing. So KKR was lucky enough to get him. Man, he turned our program around really, really fast in '07, and it just didn't work out. He ends up going back to Donnie Schatz, and I run second to him in the points and the championship, or in the championship and at the Nationals. So it would have been really neat to see what '07 could have done if we could have just kept our team together. I think and then who knows where that would have led. If the team would have finished in '07, shit, we could have gone on a run for whoever hell knows how long if we could have, finished it off. And we just didn't get that. And then '08 was just a struggle trying to get our nucleus back together. And then '09 is when we got Willie Kane back, and it just took off from there. And that's when we started winning again and just putting ourselves in position. But '09, we were close. It would have been neat to see the Outlaws not change their point structure. But then 2010, we had 2010 and 11, I feel like, nothing against Jason Myers, and not saying I could have beat him, but both years I feel like we could have definitely made him work a little bit harder for it, and we were right there to make him work harder for it. I got hurt at Eldora, had to miss a show, had to be lifelined out of Eldora, and they wouldn't let me race. I probably would have raced the next night at Lernerville, but thank God the doctors wouldn't let me. But that pretty much took us out of the championship there. And then in 2011, I got hurt really bad at Eldora again. And we were, both times, we're right in contention to win the points. And we just didn't get it done because of injuries. And, that just wears on your team. You're putting yourself in position year after year after year, and then something happens, it's just like, maybe we need to do something different. And it honestly, it worked out for them, worked out for me. And it was, looking back now, it's neat to see the guys get their championship with Darren Pittman. It just sucked for me too, because I felt like, we put a lot of time into that 7 years that we could have had 3 or 4 championships, and it just didn't work out. But now that I haven't raced in so long, it doesn't bother me. But them were definitely the two things that, if I could change, would be somehow figuring out how to keep '07 together and not get hurt in 10 and 11. I think I would have had a totally different, career and stats, but it just wasn't meant to be.
I know there was a Knoxville Nationals you were leading, and I guess a tire exploded, knocked off the front wing or whatever, and then Schatz was able. I mean, you've had some really weird things happen that have taken you out of some big wins, and of course, like we said, the championships.
Yeah, the Knoxville one was '09. That's when they first changed from 30 to like 35 laps, and I think it was I can't remember who it was. Somebody blew a tire early on in the race.
I think it was Jason Myers.
Brett Myers. Well, then I remember the tire hit my nose wing and it broke the nose wing. And it's crazy. Like during the season, we always put these little brackets on our nose wing to keep from situations like that happening. But Knoxville Nationals built all new stuff.
Yeah.
we didn't put that bracket on that car for some reason. And if that little damn 5 cent bracket would have been on there, the nose wing would have stayed together. But that last 5 laps, my nose wing blew apart, and Dottie gets me, and I lose the race, run second to him. If it could have been a 30-lap race, may have been different, but 35, I lose it. But that's racing. And I don't know. I can look back now and get pissed at a lot of stuff through my racing career, but honestly, I don't even really, it doesn't wear on me like it used to. And I go to bed at night and I feel pretty good. I sleep good. So it doesn't bother me like it used to. But when you bring it up like today, it definitely can be disheartening.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
But um 2012, after 2012, the KKR deal ends. How difficult was that for you? Because now you were really only out or had uncertainty for 30 days because I wrote the story about you getting the Motter deal. But still, KKR, 7 years, a ton of success. You won the Gold Cup, you won the King's Royal, you won 68 races with KKR just with the World of Outlaws alone. Uh, what was that like, and how difficult was that for you at that time in your career?
Oh, it was very difficult. Well, I just had my Reagan was born, so I had 2 kids now. Reagan was born in 2011, so you got just a lot of things going on. Financially, you think you're in a good spot, and then you find like, oh man, I'm not in that good of a spot. I'm gonna have to do something here. Um, and really, when I look back now, I really feel bad for Dan Motter because I really feel like that first year with Motter, I just wasn't in the game. Like I think we only won one race the whole year. We ended up finishing like third, fourth in a point. I mean, we did okay. Everything was good. Um, but I think mentally, that just really wore. That was kind of like some of the precedents for me wanting to retire early. Was just seems like you put all this into it, and then something like that happens, and it's like, man, is it even worth going through all this? And then you're missing out on so much. Um, Not that I did quit, but I mean, it definitely opened up a lot of things in my head mentally that I think wore on me to where I struggled, to get to the racetrack night after night and be successful. Um, and after that first year, the second year, Motter was really, really good. We were in the hunt, we were winning races, we were doing things like we needed to do. But the problem with Motter, as most of these teams, we were struggling financially. Um, and that was the one thing that KKR you didn't struggle with. They had the financial backing to do things successfully. So, and then that wears on you. You work your whole career to get to that point, and then you lose it. And I think that kind of mentally got me to where I just felt like, I don't know if I really want to do this. And then once that gets into your head mentally, I think you start to just, you know, fall out of love of racing and what you do it for. And it finally took me till 2017, 18, I kind of hung in there a little bit, but I knew my heart wasn't in it. But I would say probably from that whole breakup and from the 7 years, it definitely opened up a lot of stuff mentally for me that was just hard to deal with. And it ended up ultimately getting me to where I wanted to just retire and do something else.
You were with Dan Motter from 13 to 15, then you back with Roth, then
Yeah.
Stenhouse, and
Yeah.
then you ran obviously with Bernie a little bit, you Rudine, and then Newmeister. I remember talking to you. It was a 360 Nationals, and I'll never forget this. I interviewed you. You got the pole, uh, and you were just kind of like, "I'd rather be home on my chopper."
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, "Whoa, this isn't going to go much longer." I
Yeah.
thought you became civilized almost.
Yeah.
You say that about a boxer. And with what you were just saying now about the breakup with KKR and kind of going through the motions, did you know throughout that whole spell that even though you were winning races, that you weren't too long for this sport anymore?
Honestly, I mean, looking back now, I would say 2016 was when I knew I was done. 2016, I think it was 16. Yeah, 16 with Roth. We put a team together. It's kind of last minute. We put it together. Um, I think we won like 6 races, ran fifth in the points, and I get fired. And I think right then I knew, man, you're going to go through all, and nothing against Dennis Roth. I love Dennis, Teresa. It's neat to see them being successful out there. I mean, I got 3 years with Dennis. I just wish I could have had 3 consecutive years with Dennis, but I didn't. But they did give me 3 years, and that means a lot. That means we didn't burn any bridges, and they did hire me back. So that means a lot in racing. But I just think mentally that made me realize that, wow, I'm going to bust my ass all year, win 6 races, run top 5 in points, and still get fired. That I feel is a pretty good, season for a first year team. I don't think this is a place for me anymore. Like, I don't think this is what I want to do. And I think, and then I got, we kind of got thrown into the 2017 Stenhouse Wood deal. I think that all got thrown in at the last minute because of Dennis Roth. They really didn't want to do any racing. They were, building for Brian Clausen. They were doing everything for Brian. But I think they, you know, when the Dennis Roth motor program was like, hey, we'll supply the motors and we'll do this, I think that just was like, well, if a third of the budget is paid for by somebody else, let's just try it. And I think that whole team, we just, it just didn't work with me. It was more of a financially it was all going to be okay because of Dennis, but the team itself, it wasn't a place for me because I wasn't the guy they wanted to begin with. It just worked. Um, and it's neat to see where they are now. I mean, obviously with Sheldon and Noss and what they're doing, it's neat to see that they're established to where they are now. It took a while for that, but it's usually that way with all the teams. It takes a little bit, and I was just in the worst part of it in the very beginning, but it worked out for them in the end. And like I said, in 16, I knew at the end of the year, this is going to be tough for me. But I think I had to figure out how to transition out of not being gone racing week in and week out. It was just hard for me to finally tell myself, yep, I'm done. It took me another 2 or 3 years to figure it out. But honestly, I knew in 16 I was done.
You make it to you ran 7 races in 2021, and then that was it. Was it hard walking away?
No, not at all. I shouldn't have ran the 7. And like I said, looking back, I shouldn't have ran 17, 18, 19. I shouldn't have ran any of it. But I mean, because honestly, it's not fair to the teams. It's not fair to the sponsors. I'm getting hired because of what I accomplished in racing, and that, they want that Joey Saldana that won 22 features. They want that guy, and I can't give them that guy because I'm not there mentally. And so looking back, it was really bad for me. You know what I mean? Like I shouldn't have done it because it wasn't fair to all that. Like even Kevin Rudine gave me an opportunity in 18 to run his team, and I really didn't want to do it. And then he offered me a salary to go do it. Well, then then you're only doing it for the money. And I never really did it for the money. And, just things like that. When I look back now, like I said, 2016, I should have called it a day. I tried to stay in it because it's all I ever knew. But honestly, mentally, I just wasn't in it. And like I said, it just wasn't fair to everybody. And ultimately, it wasn't fair to me. I shouldn't have been doing it because I wasn't doing it justice for who I feel like I should have been. So
2 years later, you get the call for the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame induction. What was that moment like? Because you join your father. He went in 2000. You go in 2023. How special was that for you? Because I mean, you just started out. You didn't even. It was again when you're following somebody like your dad. It's not easy, and of course, you did run against three of the guys. Well, three of the guys who are on the Mount Rushmore, and a little bit against Doug Wolfgang, who's my other Mount Rushmore
yeah,
guy.
yeah,
Man, that's a tough slate to run against and build a Hall of Fame career. Yet you did that. What was that moment like for you?
Oh, it's extremely gratifying. I honestly felt like I was never worthy of going to the Hall of Fame because I always felt like the Nationals or the winning the championship, that's the key. Like for me, it wasn't winning. I think in my whole career, we won around 250 races, and that seems impressive. But I felt like really to be a Hall of Famer, you got to do more than that. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I guess winning races was enough. So I never felt like that mentally that it was enough. But I'm sure glad the people that vote on you believe that winning that many races was worthy enough to be in the Hall of Fame, because it definitely makes you realize that, hey, you know what? I didn't win a championship and I didn't win the Nationals, but the other things that I did do was enough, and they notice it, and it did make a difference. So yes, it makes your career seem like everything was worth it, and it's very gratifying to get that call.
Now, you and I have talked many times to your career. This is one where I'm going to tell you you're wrong. You deserve to be at 108, 105 World of Outlaws wins and then some crown jewels in there. That's pretty good.
Yeah, but I mean, still, I mean, I think if you really want to be the best, and that's what I wanted to be, I was in the position where I could have been, and we had the opportunity. So just mentally, for me, that's what I felt like I needed to be in. And when you don't accomplish what you set your goals out to be, it's like, well, it wasn't good enough. And then when you finally get the phone call, it's like, well, maybe it was good enough. So
What?
it just makes you feel like all that was worth it, and I do it all over again.
So now you're out of sprint car racing, but your son's racing.
Well, this
He
is
just
what's
got
crazy.
injured.
Yeah, he
Where's
he's
your
an
son
in,
at now as far as racing?
well, he's honestly, we were racing, we were just going through the motions of just doing what I did when I was growing up. I loved looking back, I loved the time I had with my dad. I loved racing with my dad, and I never put any pressure on my kid other than, honestly, I just wanted to race with my son. So that's what we were doing. But he's way, way smarter than me. He's a dual engineering major at Butler and Purdue. So
And
uh,
this is Reese.
yes, Reese, my oldest son. So this year he just came to me and was like, you know what, Dad, I really want to focus on my school, and
Good for him.
I want to. I He had an opportunity to work with Ganassi, and this year he got to. I mean, his first race of the year is the Indy 500, and he's a data engineer for, or he's R&D engineering for Ganassi Racing, and he wins his first race out, the Indy 500. Now, I mean, what else would you? What
All
else would you
downhill from
want to
here.
do? What else would you want to do? So, in a way, I'm glad he did it on his own and figured out what he wanted to do, and no pressure from me. Um, I feel like he doesn't give himself enough credit. I think he could have been pretty good. He broke his back pretty bad in a micro when he was younger. And I think that kind of hindered his racing, just because, when you start racing and you're learning how to just race, you do it for fun and you love it. You're not, you don't think of it as a profession. But when you break something in your body, I mean, like, to me, like Tyler Courtney breaking his back, he's a professional. We all are professionals, and he knows, hey, I could get hurt or I could ultimately get killed. These aren't safe race cars, and it's a race car, so you could get hurt. But when you're a kid and you get hurt that bad, like a Tyler Courtney, and you're only 14 years old in a micro, it's just a different. I'm sure mentally, it's just hard to put that to the side and then get in a race car again and give it everything you got. And I think that wore on him a little bit. And honestly, from being through injuries like myself, I totally get it. I could see where he was like, you know what? Maybe I don't want to go this direction, but I want to be a part of racing. So it was neat for him to learn that on his own and be where he's at. Whether he stays at Ganassi, I don't know. But I know he's in a good home, and I know the guys around him enjoy him, and they work well together. So if that's where he chooses to stay, then that is so awesome for him. And yeah, he's doing very well for himself. He's at Ganassi today. He's doing a lot of stuff that a lot of people don't get to see, and it's all stuff that they try to R&D stuff that he gets to do that he don't even tell me about it. So it's pretty neat where he's at. And I applaud him for doing it on his own and figuring out what he wanted to do.
Okay, Indy 500 winner.
Yeah.
That's end of story.
I know. That's what I said, man. You can quit today. First race, you win. And I mean, your career is complete. Most guys work their whole life for something like that and they never get to accomplish it. And here he does it on his first weekend out. Well, he was there for the Indy Lights or whatever that
Yep.
series is now. He got to do that week first, but then ultimately he's there for the month of May and they win the race. So it was just neat for him. It was neat for him. And it was neat for my dad, being an Indy 500, veteran. I know he really was happy for Reese. So it's neat to see where he's at.
Now, your other son, Reagan, no desire to race?
No desire. No desire. He's just baseball, football. Um, he's a freshman this year. He starts school on Monday. So no, he's just a kid. Enjoys being with his friends, and I'm fine with that. I mean, if he came to me and said, "Hey, Dad, I'd like to try racing," we would do it. He did race a little bit when he was younger, go-karts and stuff, but never really, got into it like Reese did. And he just kind of does his own thing. But then again, I've quit racing to where he's not around it as much as Reese was.
Right.
And I'm home more like a dad would be. So he just does his own thing like most kids do.
That's great. Moving on, physical fitness.
Yeah.
You're one of the first guys. I mean, I know Doug Wolfgang used to run. I know Steve Kinzer. Well, we know what he was a
Wrestling champion. Yeah.
wrestling champion, and I covered wrestling through the 2000 teens, and I really got a good indication to be a top flight wrestler what those guys are like. But you were a physical fitness guy, still are. In fact, you were at the gym today. What got you into that? And was it just a case of you thought you needed to be as good physically as you were mentally to be successful? Or was it something instilled to you as a kid?
Um, Man, a lot, all of it really. I mean, I got to witness Doug Wolfgang running on a track before. I think my dad ran Granite City. I'm pretty sure it was Granite City or whatever they call that now down in St. Louis, Tri City or whatever. But
Yeah.
he was before the races. He's out running around a track, and I think just witnessing that and seeing, okay, well, this guy's pretty damn good, and he's out here working out. There's a reason why he's doing it, and I think Rico does a great job uh, relaying it to the fans. If nothing else, if it doesn't make him better, it makes the team know that he's devoted to the team and doing everything he can do to be better. And that's kind of how I looked at it. And I also feel like it's helped me through injuries, just recover faster, um, or not being, when I got hurt at Eldora the one time, they told me, hey, I'm going to miss a year of racing. And I really feel like my fitness and just being able to get back in the gym and get after it, I only missed 3 months. So, it could have been a year, which could have changed my whole career. I could have been fired just because I missed a whole year racing. But luckily, I only missed 3 months. We come back and we win the first two races back. So, I attribute all that to my fitness. And then, like I said, I mean, if you're struggling or whatever, but the team realizes you're putting the effort into it, I think it just translates to everybody. They just understand that, hey, I'm trying, I'm doing whatever I can do. And it definitely doesn't hurt you to be in shape when you're trying to pass somebody on the 39th, 40th lap. You could beat somebody just because you got better stamina than the next guy. And I think Doug Wolfgang was a prime example of that. I think he felt like Steve Kinzer was the man. And if I can be in better shape than him, maybe I can beat him. And if anything, it's a mental thing. And if you believe it, then obviously you're going to do it. And Doug did it numerous times against Steve. So, maybe it's just keeping him mentally in the game. And I kind of felt like that helped me, kept me mentally in the game. And I do it today just because I enjoy it. Something I did for so long. I just try to continue doing it.
You mentioned Doug Wolfgang a few times, and I was reading he was one of your heroes, uh, coming up. I know it was my favorite driver when I was young. What was it about Doug Wolfgang and then I'm sure you got to run against him maybe once or twice before he got injured, but what was it about him, or what did you like about him that kind of made him stand out?
Um, just kind of, I mean, like for me growing up, I mean, like I said, I had to go build my own car. I had to do this with Lee. Doug kind of was that guy. He could build his own car, build it. He could build everything, and then he'd go out and whip your ass. So I think I just felt like I wasn't the gifted guy like a Steve Kinzer. I wasn't the financially smart guy like Sammy Swindell. Doug Wolfgang just kind of fit that person that I felt like I fit in that direction. That I didn't have all the money. I didn't have, I wasn't born gifted. And so what could I do to be successful? And Doug just kind of like that epitome of all of that. I mean, like I said, he like we were just talking, he worked hard, physically. He could do everything that he needed to do. And, you don't see that. Most of the guys either have the money and they get the opportunity, or they're just gifted. Like to me, like Kyle Larson's just an amazingly gifted person. I
Yes.
was not Kyle Larson. I was not gifted. I had to work really hard at it. And I feel like Doug Wolfgang was that guy that guys like me could look up to, because you could see if you do work hard and you put the effort into it, you can beat the Steve Kenzers and Sammy Swindells, and Doug did that. So he was just somebody that I admired and felt like I kind of fit in his footsteps a little bit. Obviously, I would love to have won more races and been at his level and the Nationals. And he was just somebody I looked up to. And I know I didn't win as much as him, but my career and his kind of, I mean, he should have won a championship and he didn't. Just things like that. He's just somebody that I really looked up to, and I still do today.
I've talked to Colton Gauss a lot, who was with you for years, and he's running BAPS now, and we talk about what he does outside of the track to set himself up for after racing. And you're a guy who set himself up for after racing. You have businesses. What are you doing now exactly? And where does that come from too? Knowing that you've got to have stuff after racing, you got to be financially set for your family, for you, and for the future when you're done behind the wheel.
Well, I mean, another Joe Saldana being what is it, the Little Joe School of Hard Knocks. I've just learned through him. I mean, my dad, he invested when he ran Indy, he invested in a bunch of properties, and then he built commercial buildings when he was racing in his prime. And he just always conveyed that to me, that you're not going to do this forever, and when you do make the money, you better invest it, because you're not going to get it for, you're only going to get so much of it, and they move on without you. And luckily I listened to my dad, and I invested in some commercial properties, and like my shop that I have, one of my big shops that we have, Rico Abreu rents from me. He's been there for 5 years. Um, just having Rico there has been a blessing. You're going to get your rent. They're going to take care of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean. So it's just things like that. We have Jake Swanson, USAC team. They rent from us. Willwood Brakes, Waterman. I mean, we have some racers in our commercial properties. So we still have them guys that we can talk to and hear what's going on. But yeah, just invest when you have it. And I see all that money guys are making today. I hope they don't let it burn a hole in their pocket and they invest it, because I'm a prime example. You can't do it forever. You can't do it at a high level forever. You can do it for as long as you want, but if you want to do it at a high level, when you do make the money, you need to invest it and be smart with it. Um, and luckily, I have my dad in my corner and helped me invest my money into properties, and uh, and then in turn, it allowed me to get my oil tank company from John Godfrey. And hell, when I bought the oil tank company from John, they were doing about 130 to 150 tanks a year, and we do 550 a year. So I mean, we really, you know, it's amazing that the support that we get for these tanks, and I think a lot of it attributes to just my racing career and knowing the engine builders and and allow me to be a part of their engine programs. So things like that. I mean, I didn't even think about it. I never had on my bingo card that I was going to be building oil tanks when I quit racing. And it's, not only do we have the commercial properties, but the oil tank deal has been an amazing company to own, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger. And I'm amazed at the support we get.
I got to ask you about helmets because I've talked to guys even today, and they're like, "Oh, I gave one to Joey."
Yeah.
Is that something that's still a thing for you? I remember when I visited your shop, I did a shop tour interview, and I was there with Dave Byro, and you have a lot of helmets on the wall. It's pretty impressive. Do you still keep up with that, or?
No, not really. I mean, I would love to, but it's like anything, out of sight, out of mind. I don't really go and bug guys for helmets. There's a lot of helmets I'd love to have, but I think I did get a Rick Unger helmet in the last maybe 6 months, and you're not going to get too many Rick Unger helmets. No. And Rick was a guy here in the Midwest, Indiana, very successful, USAC All-Stars, some outlaw stuff. So I was lucky enough to get one of his helmets. But no, I really haven't pursued it like I used to. I think we're up to 200 and some helmets. But yeah, what I have is what I have, and it's an honor to have the guys I have. I mean, I have from Mario Andretti to Steve Kinzer, Sammy, um, Brian Clausen, I don't know, Jason Leffler.
Wow.
I mean, we have some good ones, and I'm honored to have them. I'm not an eBay guy. I'm not putting them I'm not going to sell them. They're here for good. Whatever my kids do with them afterwards, they can do with whatever. But for me, I enjoy it. It's just helmets always were like a driver's identity. Some guys not so much, but when guys get them painted, it's kind of like, man, their own little identity, who they are. So I always enjoyed that part of it. And to have them hanging on your wall. And then like when people come in and look at it, like, man, that's all your helmets. And I'm like, no, none of these helmets are mine. There are other guys. And they just think that's, when you get non-racing fans or people looking at them, they just think they're yours. And I'm like, no. And then once they realize they're all other guys, and then they're like, wow, that's pretty cool that you would collect, other guys' stuff. And I think that's way cooler than like a suit or anything like that. Having their helmet, I think, just kind of shows who they are and their identity. And it was just neat to do while I was in the sport as much as I was. And now they're still here. I mean, I think you can see there's some back here. I got them all over the place, but yeah, they're cool to have. And they're definitely good conversation pieces when people come into the shop.
I only have one.
One.
I have
what
one.
What you got?
Doug Wolfgang.
Oh my God, that's a good one. Now you don't need any more. That's a good one.
No,
that's a good one.
It was. They were raffling it off at Motorsports down in Philly. I bought one ticket,
and you got it.
And I got it.
Well, you got the golden ticket.
I did.
That is awesome.
I gave it to my father, who's 76 now.
Yeah.
And obviously when he's no longer here, I'm taking it.
Yeah.
I'm probably gonna go on a set somewhere, wherever I'm broadcasting from. You mentioned, not being involved as much as you were. Do you still go to any races? Do you still have any desire to go? I know you said, we talked off air, you said you'll watch highlights and stuff. Do you any desire to actually go to a race as a fan, or just kind of mill around, or is that kind of past life type stuff?
I wish I did. Like, I wish I went to more races. I wish I was more prevalent there at the races. But I think it also is, I mean, I did it for so long and I wanted to do it at such a high level. It's kind of, for me too, out of sight, out of mind. If it's not there, then I don't want to do it. But I feel like I'm not a good fan. I would rather be doing it and trying to do it at the best I can. So I always tell guys like Paul McMahon, I'm coming. I was going to go to the Kings Royal. I'll be there. I'll do this. And then I don't go. So I think he's tired of hearing me tell him, "Hey, I'm going to come and I'll be there." Shane Carson did ask me, and I know Paul offered me a place to stay for the Nationals. So they've been on me to go to the Nationals, and I might go next week. I tell my wife I'm going to go, and then I end up not going. So who knows? I always say I'm going to go, and then I don't. But I do need to start going to more and just enjoying it. I enjoyed it for such a long time. It's hard to make that transition. So for me, it's just as easy not to be there.
Just a couple quick hitting things. You went through the 2006 split. You were around where World Racing Group, or I should say at that time, World of Outlaws and Boundless and NST. Now we have High Limit and World of Outlaws. And I know you're not probably in it as much as some people, but still from afar, we have 29 traveling teams nationally now. We never had that.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that whole thing? I'm quite sure you've heard about it.
Um. Well, for me, the All Stars were a big part of my career. If it wasn't for the All Stars, I would have never, got to the point where I could be an outlaw. Um, so when that whole thing came about with the high limit bond, that to me makes no sense. Like, I don't understand it. They can try to explain it to me, but I don't understand. It didn't make any sense. They didn't need to do that because it was hurting the guys like myself that needed the All Stars to get to the outlaw level. Granted, I think it's cool that Rich Farmers got the All Stars back, and we're going to try and build it back to the way it needs to be, and that's what they need. But I just don't understand that. I don't understand the two national series. I wish they could work out like a West Coast, East Coast, maybe, and then they come to the Nationals for the big,
Super Bowl
bring them both together or something. I don't know. I personally don't like it. I don't like it. I like the money. I like the money that's out there, and I feel like the elite guys, the good guys, are the same guys getting the money. I do feel like the mid pack guys or the guys trying to make it, at least they're getting paid more and trying to help them, because yeah, you said there's 29 teams, but two series. So the competition's so spread out. It's letting the other guys make some money. But to me, when I watch the races, and I'm really only like a highlight guy the next day, I really feel like it's hurt the racing. Like I feel like, I'd rather see them all race together. Honestly, that's the whole thing. I would rather see them all race together, and the best is the best. And that's the way the Outlaws was for me forever. If you want to be the best, you go run the Outlaws. Granted, I feel like the high limit, I would say, probably opened some eyes that, hey, the Outlaws need to do a better job. I think they need to be better at what they're doing. But the two series, I don't understand it. And I don't know, but I'm not involved. I'm not in there. I just wish as a fan, it was one series and it's the best drivers, because we're not getting that. We're getting best, good drivers. It's not like they're not good drivers. It's just, it seems like the quality is so spread apart on the best and the okay guy. You know what I mean? Like the middle range guys, I don't know. I'm glad we're going to have the Knoxville Nationals coming up, because guess what? They're all coming together, and we're going to see who the best really is. And that's the way it should be. It's just it's something that I don't understand, and hopefully they can work together to where that's one series again, or at least one series working for everybody. I don't see that happening. No. I think we got too many guys thinking we need to go in different directions or we need to do this or that. But it's a shame, because I feel like for myself, you knew where you were going. We were going to the Outlaws, and we wanted to beat Steve Kinzer, and that was the best. And now it's hard to do. Now it's just more about the money and this and that. And granted, it ultimately is about money. We need money. I just hate seeing them split up like they are.
The money aspect of it. Do you look at the money now and go, God, I wish I would have been driving?
Yes and no. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think we made really good money um, back when I was racing. I mean, I don't feel like I am doing without. You know, I feel like the Outlaws did a lot for me. The races I won, I feel like, I did okay financially. I have a lot, that I can that I have now, and it's all because of racing. So I must have made enough money. I mean, it's neat seeing guys make money that they should make, but I mean, with inflation and what money is today, maybe that's what it should be anyway. I don't know. Um, but I think ultimately to be good at it, Kyle Larson, he's not racing sprint cars because of the money. He does it because he loves it and he enjoys that form of racing. Um, it's just neat that they're finally paying money that we should have all had. But I think that's kind of where the whole split is what's caused that. I think the high limit forced the Outlaws and the high limit to pay what we should be getting paid. Um, it's just a shame that it had to split the series up like they did to get to that point. Which ultimately they had to do that to get the Outlaws to step up. But I don't know. That's what I mean. I don't know. I don't know what's the answer. I feel it's cool. They're racing for a lot more money, but I don't feel like that money would have changed my life any differently. You know what I mean? Like I think I did okay with what I had.
Last thing, I'll let you go. I know you got stuff to do, tanks to make. Um, you hit on it a little earlier. I go through this, and I'm not get off my lawn guy. Okay, I'm not that guy, but I see the racing now, and there's a lot of parity now, and there's great drivers out there. David Gravel, Brad Sweet, and other guys. But I look at that year 2000 with the Outlaws, and I look at that roster, and I think 9 Hall of Famers there is. I think sometimes we discount how good that era was through the 90s and into the early 2000s. Would you agree with that?
I mean, obviously, I'm gonna agree with you on that. I mean, because that's where for me, that's who I learned from. That's who I raced with. I feel like the guys that I raced with back then, the competition was insane. But I mean, you don't want to discredit the guys today. I realize
No.
it's hard. Racing should be hard. I mean, it shouldn't be easy. I just feel like for me, when I do watch, you do hear so much about how tough the competition is, how hard it is, and man, to me, I'm like, wow. I guess Steve, Sammy, and Stevie Smith, and Andy Hillenberg, and Dave Blaney, and Jack Hodenshield, and Johnny Herrera, Greg Hodnett, Keith Kaufman, Kenny Jacobs, all these guys, they weren't worth a shit when I raced with them. Like, damn, okay. I think they're pretty good. I mean, I think they molded me into a pretty decent race car driver. So, um, I don't know. I don't know. I do feel like I think the racing is harder today because the cars are so equal. I mean, they put us in this really tight little box and everybody buys good motors, everybody has good cars. So it's hard to see the really, really good guys excel. And when you see them guys excel, it's usually the last 5 to 10 laps of a race because that's when the cream rises to the top and you have to have a good car and you have to be a better driver. But when everyone's just throwing laps down or running 8 lap heat races, you can't pass anybody. That's why they had to go heads up racing because everybody's so close. But I don't necessarily think that made the competition better, as a driver. I don't
Right.
necessarily think it made all these drivers really, really good. It just meant you could go buy it all. It doesn't make you better. But at the end of the day, the same guys were winning the races. The same guys were winning the races to where the best always rises to the top. So, and that's where you go back to where you want to see them together. You want to see them more of the Knoxville Nationals or the Kings Royals, where these guys have to race heads up against each other because we don't get to see that every weekend. And that's the part I don't like about the split.
Well, Joey, again, I could talk to you all day, but I don't. I appreciate you joining us on the show. I hope you get to a race. I hope it's a race I'm at. then, stop by, say hello, or see you. So again, thank you very much for being on the deep dive.
No, man, thank you. I was shocked when you text me. I'm like, I don't, like I said, I don't do this hardly at all anymore. So when you asked me to be on your show, I was like, hell yeah, I'd love to do it. I don't get to talk about racing much. So thanks for having me.
No problem. Thank you. That's going to wrap up another edition of the SprintCarUnlimited.com deep dive presented by Dottie's Family Market in Dover, PA. Big thank you to Joey Saldana for joining us on the show. A lot of good stuff there. If you like the content on our YouTube channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. You can also check out our daily exclusive content at SprintCarUnlimited.com. We will hopefully be back next week with another edition of the Deep Dive.